Greetings, true believers. Matt from Hidden Machine here to talk about Control Resonant. Now, if you're watching this, you probably already know that last week, the premiere trailer for Control Resonant played at the Game Awards. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down everything I know so far about the game, what I see in the trailer, and since people have been asking for it, at the end of the video, I'll also play our live reaction to the trailer from when it premiered last week. Also, I need to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters being listed right here. If you enjoy what this channel does, you want to support it, push us along our way a little bit, even $1 a month goes a very long way to helping us out. So if you're in a position to do so, please consider it. And now let's get into Control Resonant. Before breaking down the trailer, let's cover what we know so far about this game. Control Resonant was formerly known as Control 2, and before that, it was being worked on under the project codename Heron. The creative director for the game is Mikhail Kasarinen, who was the game director for both Control and Quantum Break, as well as a designer on Alan Wake and Max Payne 2. For a number of years now, Sam Lake has been the most visible representative of Remedy Entertainment, but there are so many other people at Remedy who have been responsible for helping to bring the Remedy-connected universe to life. A post made by Sam Lake saw him congratulating the team on the release of the Control Resonant trailer, which implies to me that Sam isn't directly working on this game, but I feel pretty sure that he's working on something at Remedy. We know that Remedy is a multi-project studio, with the Max Payne remakes and another unannounced project currently in the works. Maybe that's Alan Wake 3, but we'll have to wait and find out. In addition to those projects, there's some kind of adaptation of the Remedy-connected universe being worked on with Annapurna, who is also co-financing and co-producing Control Resonant. Between the trailer and its accompanying press release, we've learned that Control Resonant is a single-player action RPG, with a focus on melee combat, seemingly doing away entirely with the gun combat of the first game. Players take on the role of Dylan Faden, the brother of FBC director Jesse Faden. At the end of Control, Dylan was in a coma, but it appears that he has since come out of it. He wields a weapon called the Aberrant, which appears to work like a melee version of the service weapon from the first game, being able to take different forms. Aberrant means not conforming to an accepted or usual standard, which applies to the shape-shifting nature of the weapon and to the game itself, being a very non-traditional sequel, changing up both the genre and protagonist from the first entry. The title, Control Resonant, was chosen over Control 2 to give this game a further distinction from the first title. While this is a sequel to the events of Control, it's going to play like a very different game. And much like Alan Wake 2, Remedy is assuring newcomers that they don't have to play the first game to understand the second one. And while this is going to continue to pick up on story threads from the previous Remedy games, it's very much intended to stand alone as its own story. The day before the trailer premiered at the Game Awards, select members of the press were invited to preview the trailer and to participate in a Q&A session with Mikhail Kasarinen and Thomas Puha from Remedy. While there isn't any public recording of that event, there have been a bunch of articles written by people who attended it. From their writings, we can learn a little bit more about the premise of the game. I'll be quoting a bunch of different articles here, but if you want to read them in full for yourself, there's a great roundup of Control Resonant coverage over on the Sudden Stop, which is a top-notch Remedy fan site. I'll leave a link to their post down in the description of this video. In one article, Mikhail is quoted as saying, "At the heart of Control is a story of two supernaturally gifted siblings who got separated as kids. They lived two very different lives. These two games are about their attempts to reconnect with each other." Referring to Dylan, he said, "He has lived his whole life inside the oldest house, so the door leading outside to Manhattan might as well be a portal to an alien world. To him, this leads to a discovery of a new reality, just like what the oldest house was to Jesse. One article stated that Jesse has disappeared mysteriously. The last time we saw Jesse was in the Night Springs DLC for Alan Wake 2, but it was made clear by Remedy that the characters we see in those Night Springs episodes are more like impressions of their RCU counterparts. Before this trailer, apart from a brief glimpse of her on a television screen in Alan Wake 2, we haven't really seen Jesse since the end of the Foundation DLC for Control. Control Resonant takes place in Manhattan, and according to Nick Romano at Entertainment Weekly, the city is walled off by a supernatural force. No one can get in or out, though Dylan isn't the only one left inside the metropolis. McCall confirmed that the FBC is just one faction trying to take back New York. Over the past few years, there has been a lot of speculation from fans about what factions we might see in the next Control game. There's the FBC, which for a long time was under the direct control of the board. By the end of the first game, Jesse has made a sort of alliance with the former, and is decidedly skeptical of the board. There has also been a lot of speculation about Chester Bless and how he might fit into the bigger picture. Personally, I've often imagined a scenario where former or disgruntled FBC employees get together and form their own faction. There is a ton of material in the first game suggesting that there are different ideologies present within the Bureau, and sometimes there is serious friction between individuals or groups when it comes to certain topics. Knowing that multiple factions are going to be present in Control Resonant leaves a lot of room to explore all of these loose ends from the first game. Another article quoted McCall as saying the game will have more meaningful progression and real choices. It's impossible to know exactly what sort of choices we'll be faced with, but it might be worth looking back at Quantum Break for some precedents. In that game, choices you made would have huge impacts on the story. Certain characters would live or die, and entire scenes would play out totally differently depending on your chosen path. While we don't know yet if the decision-making in Control Resonant will have similar impacts on its story, we do know that the choices you make regarding your character will impact gameplay. Control featured light RPG elements when it came to gear, upgrades, and abilities. In many ways, that system built on the upgrade system established in Quantum Break. However, I've heard plenty of people say that the mods in Control didn't really do much to make a build feel distinct. By all accounts, that is something that Control Resonant is going to be addressing, as the game aims to offer distinctive builds that complement various gameplay styles. One quote from the press event reads, "There are intricacies to how you shape your character, and a lot of different progression systems that allow you to become more versatile and stronger." There was also a lot of emphasis put on the fact that this is not an open world game, but the devs are calling it an open-ended game, and it will feature the side stories, secrets, and everything else that we've come to expect from Remedy. This is also set to be Remedy's biggest game yet, with McCall stating in the press release, "We're pushing the scale beyond anything we've done before, elevating combat, exploration, and storytelling into a bigger, more memorable experience." Another line from the press release that stood out to me was that Dylan is charged with combating a mysterious cosmic entity as it alters fundamental aspects of our reality. Now, this could be referring to the Hiss, but it could also be any number of other entities that have either escaped from the confines of the oldest house or have entered reality through some other means. Anyway, now that we've established all of that, let's break down the trailer. This first scene shows Dylan in his containment chamber from the first game, but it sits in this strange void. The Steam page for the game contains a line that says, "Traverse perception-bending locations and travel beyond the material world into a mysterious metaphysical space representing Dylan's troubled psyche." As we go through this trailer, I have to question which plane of existence each scene takes place in. We then see some abstract patterns that feel reminiscent of imagery from previous Remedy games. For a moment, it looks to me like red curtains are visible in the center of this pattern. I might be reaching here, but I was immediately reminded of the curtains behind Mr. Door in the introduction scenes from Night Springs. We pass through these patterns and cut to a cup of coffee. This is again reminiscent of previous Remedy games. The camera soon reveals a business called Atlantis Cafe. Atlantis is a mythical city, and the story goes that it was a very advanced civilization, but the people there lost their morals, causing the gods to flood the entire city and everyone in it. Perhaps this is an analogy for the hubris of the FBC, allowing these paranatural entities to overtake Manhattan. The cafe was established in 1917. As far as I can tell, that date hasn't been referred to in any previous Remedy games, but I always try to take note of years whenever I see them mentioned. The awning on the building shows the number 665, presumably the address of the cafe. The scene appears to show an abandoned dining area, with cups, plates, bottles, food, and clothing all left behind. A pigeon lands on a table near a cup of coffee, and the cups soon multiply, as a voiceover from Dylan Faden mentions an intrusive pattern. The hiss is an intrusive frequency, and I imagine that whatever Dylan is talking about might spread itself in a manner similar to the hiss. We already saw how the hiss could mingle with an entity like the Dark Presence in the AWE expansion for Control. Perhaps in this game, the hiss has merged with another paranatural entity and created this intrusive pattern. This all startles the pigeon, and it flies away from the table. As it moves through the air, it stutters and replicates itself in a way that is very reminiscent of a particular scene from Quantum Break. However, this replication is quickly amplified, and the pigeon begins to mimic the sort of kaleidoscope patterns that we saw earlier in the trailer. I've seen some people online mention that the overlapping wings bring to mind what some call biblically accurate angels, and Remedy acknowledged the similarity in a recent social media post. According to the Bible, while some angels have appeared to people in a human-looking form, there are several mentions of entities referred to as living creatures, which have multiple faces, multiple wings, and are sometimes covered in eyes. These living creatures appear to people while they are having visions of God or heaven. Remedy regularly pulls inspiration from Norse mythology, which has its roots in Norse paganism, which was a precursor to Christianity. I know that religion can be a very sensitive subject for some people, but I would find it really interesting for Remedy to pull inspiration from biblical texts in one way or another. Anyway, the perspective shifts again and we see a city street. In the foreground, the left side of the scene shows Thomas Street, and on the right side is a mirror image of that same street. As we look further down the horizon, we can see the city sprawling out in a sort of geometric shuffle, with what appears to be entire city blocks rotated at impossible angles. According to correspondence we can find in Control, the oldest house is located at 34 Thomas Street in New York City, so perhaps this scene takes place relatively close to the oldest house. It should be noted that in this trailer, we can see documents with the address of the oldest house being 43 Thomas Street. Did the location of the oldest house shift, or are some of these scenes taking place in some kind of mirror realm? It's too early to tell for sure, but it's something to keep an eye on. This first city scene is very reminiscent of a scene from the 2010 movie Inception, which is all about invading and navigating the subconscious of other people through technology that allows for shared dream spaces. Next, we see a shot of a building covered in the mold. The mold is an invasive microorganism that first appeared in Control. It came from a threshold, and it propagates itself by giving off an aroma that entices humans to eat it. Once a human consumes the mold, it takes over their body, hence the flashing sign urging people not to eat the mold. The building in this shot is unfamiliar to me, but there appears to be a large FBC symbol on its face. Several uniformed FBC employees can be seen in front of the building, along with what appears to be more abandoned taxis like we saw in the previous scene. One of the taxis features an advertisement for Ama Beer, a brand that first appeared in Alan Wake 2, both in reality and in the Dark Place. We can also see some graffiti in this scene, and in a few others. Most of it is pretty difficult for me to make out in these videos, but I believe that I see the letters C and E tagged in a few places. That might wind up being something significant. We then see another city street, this time bathed in red light, with what appears to be a group of Hiss agents. Hiss agents are people who have been corrupted by the Hiss and float in the air, repeatedly chanting the Hiss incantation. Next, we see the front of the oldest house, in a shot mirroring the opening scenes of Control. This is also the same location we saw in some of the early Control 2 concept art. We can see a variety of FBC agents dead on the ground. Some are in combat gear and have rifles, while others are wearing field jackets or just regular office attire. None of them appear to be wearing HRAs, the devices from the first game that were designed to protect people from the Hiss. We can also see that the front door has been shattered and removed. Does this mean that something got out of the oldest house, or did something break into it? Seeing all of these agents without HRAs makes me question if they were inside during the lockdown or if they arrived at the oldest house from somewhere else. Next, we see a shot of Jesse Faden observing Dylan. He's in the containment chamber again, but this time it looks like he is inside of the oldest house. Jesse appears to be wearing the same style coat as was worn by Helen Marshall, the former head of operations at the FBC, who became corrupted by the Hiss in the first game and had to be taken out by Jesse. Whether or not it's actually Helen's coat or just a standard issue piece of FBC gear, the similarity has to be intentional. Jesse picks up what appears to be a piece of metal from a table. The table has several FBC documents on it, all pertaining to the ordinary AWE, and this is where we can see the 43 Thomas Street address. There's also a notepad with some sketches on it, and a childhood photo of Jesse and Dylan. Jesse then approaches Dylan, who is seemingly still in his coma. In an action that is reminiscent of the opening to Alan Wake 2, she appears to plunge the object right into Dylan's chest, and then he's transported to a barren plain where what appears to be a large metal structure has been driven into the ground. The structure seems to speak to Dylan in the same way that the board and the former communicated with Jesse, with its subtitles contained in angle brackets. This seems to be the way that the Control games signify that an astral plane entity is speaking. We then see a version of Dylan, this time with a much fuller beard and a hairstyle that matches the one we saw Jesse with at the start of the trailer. He's holding what looks like the same piece of metal that Jesse was holding earlier, but at the top of it is a design that mirrors the large structure from the previous shot. If I may speculate for a moment, I'm going to assume that the piece of metal that Jesse picks up from the table here is the aberrant. When Jesse stabs it into Dylan, the aberrant is being bound to Dylan, the same way that the service weapon was bound to Jesse when she shot herself with it. Is the aberrant a new form of the service weapon? If Jesse is in fact wearing the uniform of the former director of operations, has she taken on that role and passed the role of director onto Dylan through this ritual? Maybe that's taking things a bit too far, but the parallels between this scene in the trailer and the scene in Control where Jesse becomes the director are definitely worth noting. A recent social media post from the Control account referred to Jessie as Dylan's long-lost sister. At the moment, I don't know if that means that Jessie has gone missing at some point over the past 6 or so years, or if that's referring to the fact that the two haven't totally been able to make contact since they were children. And technically speaking, they did meet in the first game, but Dylan was under control of the Hiss, so I don't know if he even has any memory of that. Moving on, we next see Dylan inside of a subway entrance. The aberrant is split into 2 pieces, with one piece resembling a blood-covered sword. His clothing is also blood-stained, and there's evidence of a battle behind him. As he emerges onto the city street, he snaps the 2 pieces of the aberrant together, and we see that someone has crossed out the FBC logo on the back of the vest he's wearing. The vest also has a symbol on it that is very similar to a symbol used in our world to signify equipment that can start up automatically. I've seen speculation online that this could relate to the state of Dylan's para-utilitarian abilities, but given that he's likely the one who crossed out the FBC logo on this piece of clothing, I have to question whether this symbol is a direct reference to Dylan's powers, or if it's just another standard issue piece of FBC gear that he took off of an agent. On the walls of the subway entrance, we can see another ad for Ama Beer, and an ad for what appears to be a performance called Parting. Let's put a pin in that one for now, and we'll come back to it later on. More graffiti appears around the stairs of the subway entrance, and we can see the phrase 4 cubes with a Z. A 4 cube is another name for a tesseract, which is a 4-dimensional cube, visually represented as a cube within a cube. Tesseracts are a common device in science fiction, and the level design displayed in this trailer might bring to mind images of the Tesseract from the 2014 film Interstellar. Also of note here is some graffiti that looks very similar to the sketches that we saw earlier on the notepad. On the surface, a group of enemies await Dylan, and a large black circle can be seen in the sky. And the next few scenes are a montage of different combat scenarios. We see more areas that appear to unfold and mirror themselves, and we get a quick look at various enemy types. In the middle of this combat montage, we see a group of people appearing to float upside down in an intricate pattern, with some kind of machine beneath them, and a series of buildings around them, topped with table lamps that appear to resemble candles laid out for a ritual. We see more graffiti with the word obscure standing out in this scene. Later, we see a nighttime scene with a row of payphones all adorned with the same image. We can see what I believe to be 2 construction workers in hard hats, with text beneath them stating, "Building the city that never sleeps." Now, this is a little obscured, but I'm pretty sure that's what it says. There's some kind of symbol and some more text beneath that, but I can't make those out. Maybe this is just a stylistic choice, but in reality, the last working payphones were removed from New York City in 2022. Either Remedy's version of Manhattan still uses them for some reason, or this scene takes place in some alternate reality. In the first game, the FBC did have to use technology from a certain era to not upset the balance in the oldest house. Perhaps now that the oldest house has opened up and whatever was inside is spilling out, maybe there's a similar thing with the technology available in this area of Manhattan during Control Resonant. Also present in this scene are banners that appear to show a skull, with text asking, "The future you want?" Again, I might be reaching here, but these signs remind me of Monarch Solutions from Quantum Break. In that game, Monarch completely overtook the city of Riverport, tearing down historic buildings to replace them with new Monarch infrastructure. There was some resistance to this, but ultimately, Monarch was too powerful to stop. I can't know for sure what all of this signage means in the trailer, but it reads to me like evidence of some of the different factions aiming to take control of Manhattan. The combat montage culminates in what looks like a boss battle against the upper half of a gigantic floating head that has pulled up chunks of asphalt and various items from the street to use as projectiles. This also reminds me a bit of the final boss from the first Alan Wake game. The final shot of the trailer is a direct callback to the first trailer for Control from 2018. It even appears that the same animation is being used for the characters in both scenes. There's still so much to learn about this game, and Remedy has a track record of showing us things out of context in such a way that we could never know what it is we're seeing until we get the full story later on down the line. Case in point, a lot of the imagery from this trailer was already previewed and teased back in the Lake House DLC and in Control. After completing Control, if players interact with Dylan's containment chamber, this cutscene will play. Dylan stands in a vast, empty space, and a series of still images flash on the screen, interspersed with the same red liquid abstractions used to represent the hiss throughout the game. We have what I believe are an eclipse, salt flats, what might be a shot from inside of a well, and the New York City skyline with a red filter over it. After playing Alan Wake 2, I began to suspect that the eclipse was meant to represent the echoes found in that game, and the image that looks like a well was supposed to be the well found in Watery. That still might be the case, but I don't see where the salt flats fit in yet. Maybe that's meant to represent wherever it is that Jesse has gone to. The shot of New York City can definitely be interpreted as the corrupted version of Manhattan that we're going to see in Control Resonant, with the red filter being analogous to the hiss. That shot of the eclipse is also very reminiscent of the black circle in the sky that we see in the Control Resonant trailer. In the Lake House DLC for Alan Wake 2, Agent Estevez can find Dylan in a containment chamber. After a brief dialogue, this scene plays. It's basically an expanded version of the previously mentioned scene from Control, with some very similar imagery. Most of what we see here looks to me like concept art for the Control Resonant trailer. This is where we first saw the title Parting. When I first saw this, I immediately thought that it might be some kind of stage production, either a play or perhaps some kind of exhibition dance. The font here is different from the one we see on the posters in the Control Resonant trailer, which is why I think this is all concept art or early drafts of these same scenes. The poster in the trailer says that the performance takes place on one night only, starting at sunset. I believe that I can see the word dance in the bottom left corner of the poster, and the figure on the poster appears to be dancing while draped in some kind of cloth that mimics the smoky haze seen around hiss-corrupted individuals. The top of the poster reads, "Follow the voices." There is a lot of room to speculate about the meaning of the word parting as a title here in a performance in Control Resonant. I think it's too early to say too much about that just yet, but I can with confidence say that I think we'll be seeing some kind of elaborate dance sequence in Control Resonant. The Lake House DLC also features several drawings made by Dylan while he was held in confinement by the FBC and were sent to the Marmonts by Dr. Darling. The drawings show a figure standing in what looks like a very open space, another figure falling, a red tree, and what appears to be a drawing of Simon Arish with a red circle over his face. Some of these drawings can be compared to imagery from the Control Resonant trailer, but the drawing of Arish stands out to me. I have a feeling that he'll have a more significant role in this next Control game. Beyond all of that, there are a lot of loose ends to keep track of after the events of Control and Alan Wake 2. We know that Sarah Breaker has joined some unnamed federal agency, and after confirming that her father was an FBC agent, I feel comfortable assuming that she has joined the FBC and will appear in this next game, in one way or another. given the fact that the FBC was under lockdown for years and that there has clearly been some extreme levels of destruction since then, I don't think we can assume that all of the key characters from Control have survived whatever it was that happened at the oldest house. There's also the question of Ahti and where he fits into everything, especially after seeing some strange behavior from him in Alan Wake 2. Speaking of Alan Wake 2, the whereabouts and activities of other characters like Alan Wake, Saga Anderson, Alex Casey, Mr. Door, Tim Breaker, Alice Wake, and Barry Wheeler are all unknown right now, but I have to imagine that we'll learn a bit more about all of them in due time. Also, there has been a lot of activity with Sam Lake and Poe. Poe has been involved in Remedy games in one way or another since the first Alan Wake entry, but after Alan Wake 2, that collaboration became a lot more intense and frequent. Some comments left on recent videos posted by Poe to YouTube suggest to me that she's either just playing along with the whole, RCU theme, or we might see her show up in Control Resonant, or perhaps this yet-to-be-named project that Remedy is working on. I also want to take a moment to note that these comments on the Poe videos were sent to me by Fearmongrel, who is the character artist on the game that I'm currently working on. So, well, shout out there, check out their work, and stay tuned to the channel for more updates about the game. I'll have a title and all that stuff before too long, but if you want more frequent updates, you can also check out our Discord, where I have a channel there that has a lot more kind of behind the scenes stuff going on. Anyway, there's also the matter of Polaris. Even after all of this time, I still don't feel like I have a conclusive understanding of the relationship between Polaris, Hedron, Jesse, and Dylan. I have my theories, but it all feels a little murky to me when I really hold it up to scrutiny. Same with pretty much every theory I've read. Mostly because there is so much that we don't know for sure about these characters. It has been my understanding that Polaris was the entity giving Jesse her powers. Dylan often expressed resentment toward Polaris. Is it Polaris that is giving Dylan his powers that we see in Control Resonant, or does he have some intrinsic paranatural abilities? Or something that stuck with him after the ordinary AWE, outside of Polaris itself? There are a lot of ways to look at it all, but in my opinion, until we learn more, it's all up for debate. And when we do learn more, I'll be sure to make another video. But for now, that's all I have to say on this particular topic. If you enjoyed this video, we have a ton of other Remedy related videos here on the channel, but we also have a lot of videos about games made by other developers that you really might enjoy if you give them a shot. So check out the channel. And please leave a comment down below. Let me know if I missed something. Do you have a different interpretation? Do you have your theories, your hopes for this game? I'm really curious what other people think about this. I've kind of held back on reading a lot of other people's impressions until I finish this video. So now that this is out, I'm ready to really dive in and see what everyone else is saying. But I guess that's all for now. All right, so we'll get to the reaction from the game trailers. Jordan and I were enjoying some bevies and smoke and watching this, so a little twisted, and that's all I gotta say about that. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Welcome back to the
Jeff Keighley, what is that face? How ripped are you right now?
Announcement from a studio that continually pushes the limits of storytelling. They captivate us with worlds that bend
Fallout Gender DLC.
stories that blur the line between ordinary and the impossible. They're one of the most distinct voices in our industry, and whenever they show up, you know you're about to see something unlike anything else.
Is it Remedy? Who is it? There might have been a really quiet... Oh, is this... Wait. Oh. No, he's on
It's Control 2?
Yes.
Okay.
This is clearly a live performance. For a second, I thought it was a video. I thought it was going to be Remedy. Yes! Because they said a studio that constantly pushes the boundaries on what is possible. Oh, sure, yeah. They sell it at the one right by Stewart's?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Curious. I'll have to go to Liquor Wine Warehouse and find it. It's fucking really good.
I hate that I'm not seeing anything new. I know all of this already.
Well, yeah, this is a live action. This is, you know what I mean? Like
I know. I'm like, okay, where are you going?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so sick, but it's a little corny.
I knew a guy who used to do this with a projector and colored.
I know who you do.
An intrusive pattern.
That is so Quantum Break.
Of staggering power. Reshaping reality as we know it.
This is what I thought would happen is the oldest house kind of transformations around the world.
To keep inside. Eventually worms its way out.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh.
I'm gonna fucking bust, dude.
Oh, God.
Have had good reasons. But we were not prepared.
Sick cut. Oh, no. What?
For what would follow.
Oh, no.
I thought you might play it, Dylan. This looks fucking sick already, dude. Oh, eat shit.
Oh, fuck off. Oh, my God. This is blowing my gourd. And we got some gameplay.
We got gameplay. It said cinematic and gameplay.
I know. I'm so thankful for that.
Melee control, I'll take it.
Oh, my God. This is unbelievable. Oh, my God. It is the next game.
Pace yourself. It's gonna get weirder.
Oh, okay, fuck yeah. In a year? Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That is a good one. Control Resonant is coming in.
It's the only one that matters, Jeff.
Oh my God!
The only reason
it looks so sick.
It looks so good. It looks so good.
I totally trust Remedy.
Do I have to get a new computer to play it?
It's an action RPG. Do you know that?
Oh, okay. No, I did not know that.
They said early on.
Tonight we'll have a performance from Evanescence plus awards.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we're gonna have a performance from Edema as well, Jeff.
Introduce you to this
And then Avicii's coming out.